Mr. Redding, thank you very much. We're glad to have you here at the studio at the Greek Public Television in Athens. Let's start with the priorities of the Greek presidency. The priorities, one of the main issues is the data protection system, and this has brought up some tension between the United States, Europe. To what extent do you think the Greek presidency can contribute to this issue?
Well, I think the most important meeting of this year was happening yesterday evening, where the Greek presidency had invited the following Italian presidency and the rapporteurs of the European Parliament together with the Commission in order to set up a road plan. Now, the decisions in the Council are going to fall under Greek presidency. Then the newly elected Parliament will start the negotiations with the Council in summer, so that this presidency will be absolutely essential in order to bring this very important project of protection of the personal data for citizens and for European companies forward.
And what is the step forward on this issue, on the data protection system? What is that could say that we have progress on this issue?
Well, that the Council of Ministers is going to decide on its political priorities concerning data protection. The European Parliament has already done this, so it is one step further, and now the Council of Ministers, the member states, have to catch up. That is what they are going to do in the March Council and in the June Council during the Greek presidency, and then the position of the governments should be firm, so that the negotiations with Parliament can start.
This year is very important for Europe. We have Euro elections, we have new candidates, new presidency, Commission. First of all, are you going to be a candidate for the presidency of Commission, personally?
You see, I have always been a candidate for the European elections, because I do believe that any leader, any political leader, has to be voted by the citizens. I have gone to European elections 5 times already, also as a commissioner, and if my party wants so, I will go for a 6th time, this time for the European elections.
You have criticized the way Europe goes forward, and you have said that we have to change some things. What things have to be changed in this critical moment for Europe?
Well, let's go back to the past, because Europe was in an enormous crisis, probably the biggest crisis since the Second World War. And when you are in a crisis time, you cannot discuss and discuss and discuss, you have to act. And that is why, by unanimity, the ministers of finance of the 17 euro member states decided to help the member states in difficulty, not to leave any member state collapse, to keep the euro strong. We managed to do that, and to help the member states who are in difficulties. For this, they created the Troika in order to control if this help is spent well. Now, we have arrived at a moment now that the things are going better, because we see this day, today, the Spaniards are going out of their program for banks, for instance. And you have seen the euro not only has not collapsed, and everybody was predicting the euro was going to collapse. No, it is one of the strongest reserve currencies of the world, and it has even augmented its numbers, its members. Latvia has joined. No, now, look, Latvia, that is a success story. Latvia was in deep recession, in the deepest you can imagine. Terrible things happened there. And now it is the member state which is most growing economically speaking. So there are success stories underway. You have seen that I have told you about Spain. Ireland has gone out of the program.
Tell us about the role of Troika here in Greece. As you know, Greece is the society suffers here, has actually on its limits. We have high unemployment, so there are reports of the European Parliament that slam the role of Troika. Do you think this can be used in order to swift some things, to change some things, to correct some things?
I just wanted to explain you by the success stories where the Troika was also underway. For instance, Ireland which went out of the program, which is back to growth since 1 year, where the employment is rising today. We see that there where the reforms were really put in place, and it's always heavy to put reforms in place, things go better. And here in Greece there is a light at the end of the tunnel which is coming up. You know, here in Greece you paid for your loans when in the crisis up to 50% interest rate. Now you are down to 7.5% because things are going better. The Troika was necessary and was decided by unanimity by the 17 member states in the Eurozone. It was necessary to have that in a crisis time. Now that we get out of the crisis, now that we have the necessary methods in order to fight back, we have a firewall of more than 500 billion euro. That is much more than the 200 billion that the FMI has, for instance. So you see that we have created the message. We have the banking union in order to break the cozy relationship between a national controller and its banks. So that in the next step, and I have always said that, Europe should keep alone in hand its control mechanisms. So slowly and slowly I'm sure that the Troika is going to fade out. That is the first thing. The second thing is also, because everything had to be done in urgency, the democratic control system by the European Parliament were not really functioning. Now we have to go back to a normal system now, where the European Parliament will discuss all the decisions which are being put on the table. Back to normal. That is what is going to happen this year, also with the election of a new European Parliament, and back to normal for the functioning of the crisis mechanisms which are put in place with a guarantee that such a crisis will not happen again. Because if we will see now something coming up, we can stop it at once and not have measures only when things have happened already.
The deep economic crisis in Europe have helped far left and far right parties to rise and gain advantage. Do you think this is a concern for the new European Parliament? Are you concerned personally?
I am, of course, concerned if there are...
Here we have the Golden Dawn, as you know.
I'm concerned for all the extremist parties, the extremist parties anti-European from the left, I think you have them also here in Greece, and from the right, which is shameful what you have here in Greece. But it is also, we see it in other member states happening, but in the end, those leftist and rightist anti-Europeans will be a minority. And in the center, you will have the center parties which will cling together and which will have a majority in order to vote for the very important laws. Because the Parliament, European Parliament, makes laws. So it is important, people should know, when they vote for the Europarliamentarians, it shall not be a vote to say we got enough of everything, but a vote who can vote for the right laws, which are in the interest of Greece, which are in the interest of Luxembourg, which are in the interest of the 507 million people. And that the solid majority in the European Parliament can do it, will do it in the future. And I count that this solid majority will be at least around 70% in the new European Parliament.
Okay, thank you very much for this interview to the Greek Public Television. Thank you.
Welcome.